we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. If we could stand for the flag salute, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome all the guests here this evening. Thank you for being here.
¿Habrá alguna persona que ocupe servicios de traducción hoy? Al no ver, gracias.
Moving on to item B3, approval of this evening's agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve this evening's agenda. Motion's been made by Director Hilmes to approve this evening's agenda. Do I hear a second? Second by Director Garza. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Moving on to item B4, citizens request to speak, and all I have is one card, and so if you could come up, please, and share in 3 minutes your comment, that would be very gracious of you. Carlos Gonzalez, could you please come?
Thank you. Seeing our audience tonight, I'm more nervous here than I am at graduation. This is a little intimidating, and I'm going to move this way,
Sure.
So I don't have my back to them. Can I keep going? Okay. Just so that I don't miss anything, I've kind of prepared just a written statement. In case you're wondering why I'm here, this is my last board meeting, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thanks to everyone. My approach to this position, or my philosophy in my approach, has always been that we owe it to our students and to ourselves to always do things better than they've ever been done before, and that we should never, ever stop growing. I've always operated under the rules that we should always protect the school, that we respect everyone, and at OHS, of course, we always be a good teammate to each other. And my belief system, too, has always been students first, that everything counts, that details matter, and that we should always celebrate and have fun. You know, we've had a lot of celebrations at OHS. We were together a Washington State Achievement Award winner for high progress, which is 3 years of trend data between math and reading. We were really proud of our ELA Smarter Balanced with 55% last year, which we surpassed our goals, and we're hoping to continue that growth. I remember a couple years ago we had like a 20-point bump in our biology EOC, and that was through just really great collaboration, monthly department meetings and collaboration with a really strong science team, and I'm looking for continued growth there with that team. Also through, thanks to the middle school model and the check-in and Paul Firth, Fabian Partida, Will Von Brock at the time, and our paras, we were able to almost triple our students transitioning from English from L3 to L4, and that was just through strong collaboration. I mean, it was just good teamwork. I'm proud to celebrate the expansion to 22 different dual credit opportunities, and starting with the 2 that we had that Matt Stevens helped to get us going on, and the established partnerships with Eastern, University of Washington, Central Washington University, and of course the AP opportunities that we have, along with our continued partnerships with Big Bend and CBC. And finally, having traction with PBIS and implementing Renaissance, and having students going to the national conference next month, which is going to be great, and what they can do to look at model schools to bring that back on what we can do to improve how we celebrate our school, how we celebrate our students and our staff. Established student competency-based assessments in world languages, and the fact that we've added AP Spanish and translation and interpretation. Thanks to Kiera and Ivan, Project Bridges in our first run was not too shabby. It was better than we thought. So it's something to be proud of, and of course our grad walk, and of course just all the positive teacher and student relationships that we've been able to have. So I'm proud of our staff, I'm proud of our work. Even though we didn't achieve every one of our goals, we've made some great gains in a profession where the rate of change is so slow, in my opinion. So I want to thank the people who helped me in this job, our OSD administration, Don Bullis, Rick Pelkey, John Covell, Brian Wood, and Chris Blackman. Special thanks to our office staff, Debbie Garza, Cherie Cantu, Elaine Little, Heidi Wood, Mari Vasquez, Lori Taff, Yolanda Sines, and Sylvia Alvarez. Special thanks to our counseling staff, Kim Andrews, Jennifer Simmons, Fabian Partida, Anna Martinez, Renee Jensen, Cecilia Cano, and Cheryl Taylor. And I want to thank all of our high school teachers and paraeducators. I'm going to miss our staff, and in that group I have some very good friends, and I'm thankful for the bond that we have, and I look forward to their continued friendships. And of course, I'm going to miss our students because I live for their interactions, my interactions with them, and just the collaborative growth. I live for the celebrations, the assemblies, all the fun stuff that just makes that whole high school experience. And of course, we got to congratulate our girls for bringing another state title to OHS, so congratulations, ladies. And I know I'm going to miss some people, but there's so many to thank, but I have to thank Amy Paris and Pete Perez. Other than my wife, these two people were instrumental in their advice and friendship. Together, they were my compass, and they helped me to serve OHS the best that I could, the best way I knew how, and that was through what I thought was best practice and through what I learned from others and through my own experiences in educational leadership. They were there to let me vent, and they were also there to help me be my best. I'm confident OHS will continue to grow under new principal, Russell Kovalenko. I wish him the best of luck. So, Board of Directors, I thank you for your vote of confidence in me and for your support through my 9 years in the Othello School District. It was an honor and privilege to serve our community in the Othello School District in this role. I will be forever grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. And on behalf of the School Board of Directors, I want to thank you for the 9 years of service that you provided to our district. So thank you very much. Moving on to item B, 5, and 6, I will entertain a motion to approve this evening's consent agenda. And item 6, we will have clarity on that as soon as we approve the motion.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Director Mike Garza to approve this evening's consent agenda. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Director Hilmes. Any discussion?
Just a clarification on 6 that you're about to give.
So, George, if you could clarify.
I think that's my cue, if I'm not mistaken. Through a variety of processes, we are recommending the following individuals for administrative hire. They are Ludokaga Assistant Principal Tracy Gelb, Wahidas Assistant Principal Justin Johnson, McFarland Middle School Assistant Principal David Spencer, OHS Assistant Principal Curtis Reeser, I believe that's how you pronunciate his name, DOHS Principal Vance Frost, and OSD Assistant Superintendent Pete Perez. So our recommendation is to hire these for the upcoming year, and I know some of them are in the crowd as well. So that's our recommendation.
So, any discussion from the board? All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries 3-0. And I'd like to offer an opportunity for any of you new administrators in our district to come and just share very briefly, some words if you'd like. You don't have to, but we'd like to give you that opportunity. So if you're here, feel more than welcome to come and share.
My name is Vance Frost, and I come from the Columbia Basin Technical Skills Center. And I've been so impressed with the students coming from Othello. I also developed a relationship with Mr. Kovalenko through CB Tech through the last year. And I love what he stands for. I love what he does. And I look forward to working in partnership with him through the high school and the secondary level. I'm very impressed with the staff. Paul is here. Ruth Alvarado, incredible team of passionate teachers. And I see such growth in the students there. We hope to take it to the next level, and that's what we plan on doing. I had an opportunity to meet briefly Dr. Hurst, and I'm going to be meeting with him on the 27th. I'm excited about his vision. I will share with you, I love where I worked. It was the greatest experience of my administrator, Christine Armstrong, was a fantastic mentor to me as I was providing leadership in the building. And I was the director last summer for our summer program, which many Othello students attend. I will share with you as well as when I was talking to the interview teams that I asked, I want to be a part of something great for education, and I see Othello doing it. And if I'm going to leave something I love, I want to take it to the next level. And I believe that this is what's going to happen. I'm very impressed with everything that I've seen from Othello. I think that you are the benchmark in education for the greater Columbia Basin, and you'll set the standard for everybody else. Thank you for having me. I look forward to working for you.
Thank you, Mr. Frost.
Thank you.
Any other administrator?
It is. What's your name?
My name's Pete. All right. I'm going to echo one thing that Vance said, and that's that I love my current job. I love the work that I've been able to do the last 5 years with the folks over at Wahidas. And so it's on to the next chapter, but I've particularly enjoyed working with those people. Just want to be very brief and say thank you to the Search and Selection Committee who put together a pretty good process, and I was fortunate enough to go through that and gave me an opportunity to reflect on my own thoughts and beliefs about the system. I want to say thanks to Dr. Hurst, who come to know the last couple of weeks. And I guess the last thing I would say is he set some very lofty goals. And he's looking to do some things that have not been done in many, many places. And I look forward to working with Gina and with Matt and with Dr. Hurst to help think about those things and to organize teams of people who are interested in doing that kind of work, because what he's suggesting is going to be very, very special. And so I look forward to the opportunity.
Thank you, Pete. Any other administrator?
Mine will be brief because you'll get to hear me later too. So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. I just finished my 9th year in Othello, and it has been a great time teaching, and I'm looking forward to, as Pete said, the next chapter and the new growth opportunities in the administrative realm. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, David. If there is no one else, we'll move on to item C1. And this is how we'll do this. We're going to recognize some individual spring sports and some of the accomplishments that they have made. And so we'll start with our largest group that is here. Coach Rudy Ochoa, could you please come? And I'm going to let Rudy introduce his coaching staff. And then after he introduces the staff, then the board will come and stand next to him as well, along with Gary, our student rep that is here. And then he will introduce all of his team. And we will shake your hand and get a picture for our Othello Outlook. And so, Rudy, if you can introduce your coaching staff.
Okay, we have Shane Provost, Ray Gonzalez, Mike Jensen, Rudy Ochoa, and Eden Ochoa. Okay, all the girls aren't here. All the girls aren't here, of course, but give what we got. Janisa Garza. Michaela Garza. Riley Heist. Dominique Velasquez. Jaslyn Verduzco. Gisela Monroy. Kayleen Garza. Jackie Garza. Ebony Guzman. There you go. Lady De Leon. Mariah De Leon. Diamond Franco. Dominique Martinez. Madison Martinez. Kirsten Quigley. Odyssey Salceda. Malaya Salceda. Adasi Valdez. And these are our state champions.
One more bit of recognition before the coaching staff leaves. We were honored as a district as well to have the CWAC Coaching Staff of the Year. And so let's give them a hand for doing an amazing job this year. Thank you, guys.
I didn't forget.
I'd like to thank the board. I'd like to thank George for these many years. 21 years ago, Rudy and I came to one of these meetings and asked that the board consider fast pitch softball because our young ladies didn't have the opportunity to get scholarships. And 1 year later, Rudy and I were hired to start this fast pitch program, which has been quite an enjoyable ride for us. Because of my job, I will no longer be with the softball team full time. I will come and support them and help them anytime that they need. I would like to publicly thank Don Bullis and Pete Patitucci, Mark Kondo for the support and that they have given me and Rudy. I'd like to thank Rudy personally as a great friend, and I really appreciate him and his family. And I would like to thank the board and previous boards for their support of the softball program. And I thank you for the opportunity to serve you and this community. I'm thankful for the girls and for their hard-fought championship this year. But anyway, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
That is very classy, ladies. Thank you so much. Thank you, softball team. All right. Thank you so much for all your service as well. I'd like to call up the tennis coach, Coach Pruneda, if you could come, please. And we have some individuals that qualified for state as well, and there's one singles participant and a couple doubles participants. So I'm going to let you call them up, Coach, and then we could take a picture with.
I don't think anybody's here. They text me they have obligations from work, so I'll go ahead and Diego Villarreal. He was a senior this year. He did a really good job, and there's a lot of hard work and dedication. He actually was out there in February shoveling snow off on the courts to practice. I mean, this kid, I love to say I helped him get better. I gave him some tips, but it's just hard work, and he did a great job. And then I have a senior, Kylie Hawley, and then I have Zoe Roylands. They were partners, and Kylie teamed up with Zoe with the hopes of going to state, and they did a really nice job. And the last group was Kyler Villarreal, who was a sophomore, blew out his arm playing football, decided to come and play tennis, and what an amazing athlete he is. And they did really well. The team that took him out the first match was they ended up taking third in state, and so they're eager to get back and see some competition next year. And Colin Freeman is a great athlete. He's my captain, and I want to recognize Fabian Partida. He's my assistant coach, and together we got coaching staff of the year as far as CWAC. And so you're only as good as your kids and your coaching staff. And David Buse is not present, but I believe that we have the best coaching staff in the CWAC. And so when you have these fine coaches and athletes, it makes it easier for the head coach.
So thank you, coaches. And I was going to mention that they were also selected this year as CWAC co-coaches of the year. And so congratulations to you guys. Thank you so much.
And we want to say thank you to the board for helping us out. They've been approved to get 8 courts. They're going to put them behind the old bus loop, and thank Gina Bullis and Don Bullis for the many hours of work. And I think our district has always said that we want to be at least at par, and we had 82 kids this year with 4 courts. It was pretty tough, so we thank the board for approving that, and hopefully we'll be up here for more years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Next, we want to recognize, is Coach Mason here, our unified soccer team. So, thank you, Coach Spencer. So, I don't know, do you know if any of the kids showed up?
We have 2.
Okay.
So we have Joshua Lemke and Colton Schmidt. Come on up, guys. Give me a second. Josh. Okay. Is anyone not familiar with Unified Sports in the audience? Okay, so Unified partners athletes and special ed students and general ed students together to play on the field. It's a competitive athletic sport for some of the kids that may not get to do or may not choose not to participate in other avenues of athletics. So it just gives another outlet for students to work well together and to get a chance to compete together. So when we had a good showing at state, and it was a lot of fun.
Thank you very much. We have one more member to be recognized, but I don't see the coach. Coach Lumpson, are you here? Any golf coach here this evening? If not, I'll just mention that Ben Garza was our lone state participant in our golf team, and so he did a great job, and so let's give them a hand. I think we're ready. Okay, let's moving on to item C2, facilities update. Is Travis here? He's gonna give us. He's not. Okay, we'll foot it until hopefully he gets here before we.
Early adopters.
Okay, we'll move on to item C3, early adopters. So we have a presentation. Brooke French and Glenn Whitcomb.
You're welcome. You did a great job. I wish I would have done that all.
Good evening. We just wanted to give you an early adopters update about all of the hard work that our early adopters committee has been doing since February. So again, we want to remind you of the vision. Othello School District's one-to-one vision promotes a student-centered learning environment where technology supports curriculum. Technology use will be routine, transparent, and encourage innovative teaching methods to ensure student success. The district will provide ongoing professional development and tools to support Othello students in an evolving digital world.
Last time we presented, if you recall, we were at the upper right-hand corner of this particular slide. The completion of the one-to-one comprehensive plan has been completed. We'll go over that here in a second. And we've moved down now to the implementation phase. The implementation phase will be kicking into high gear with McFarland Middle School's math adoption, and the early integration and expanding Chromebook deployment will continue beyond that after the school year gets started. And then we'll have several professional development opportunities beginning this month. The early adopters that are in our group right now have some things that they need to complete from summer and beyond. One of them is getting their Google Educator Level 1 certification completed before school starts, and then completing their Google Educator Level 2 by January 1st. And then beyond that, they are going to participate in the Google Summit, August 19th. And then they've committed to demonstrating and mentoring other teachers as we go down the road of one-to-one. Currently, the Google certified educators that have passed successfully is Jose Alonso Diaz, Jessica Schink, Steve Paris, Chad Smith, Paul Firth, Amanda Moore, and Nick Fletcher, which is not on our early adopter. He passed his exam last week. And then this week we have our first exam attemptee to pass both level 1 and level 2 by Wednesday. So that's pretty incredible.
All right. So we have two curriculum instructional goals for our curriculum strategic plan, and the early adopters help create this. So the first one is increase the use of technology to provide, to support, and to evaluate learning, resources, and methodologies that facilitate OSD curriculum and goals. And you have access to this, so you can go ahead and read the strategies and the elements of success at a different time if you haven't been able to do that yet. Our second goal is employ the flexibility and power of technology to enable standards-based, student-centered, personalized learning for all Othello students. So we have our strategies, and then elements of success. This one's a little bit different. We wanted to break it up with the staff will and the students will. And we have one professional goal, and we've already shown this to Chris Hurst, and he has encouraged us to adjust this one because he wants to know how can we measure inspiration, and so that was a good one. So but we're not going to change that. We're going to take that back to the early adopters in the fall. So, but the professional goal is inspire and strengthen lifelong learning for teachers, staff, and administration using current technology. And again, we have the strategies and elements of success.
Couple things to note as we've gone down this road. Scootney Springs is the only school that was not represented on the early adopter, and it just happened to end up that way. But Scootney has stepped up to the plate and helped the transformation. They've got nearly all of the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade teachers participating in the Project Red book study that was led by Eldon Killian. And a handful of lower grade, the K2, have participated along with the instructional coach and the principal over there. So that was very impressive to see. As far as McFarland is pushing our one-to-one adoption. They they will be the first one-to-one take-home in the region that we're aware of. Definitely in the Columbia Basin. In fact, Moses Lake is watching what we're doing to see if there's anything that they can take from us when they get to this point. We have nearly 100% participation in the August 19th Google Summit. The building on a whole got on board, and nearly 100% of the teachers have agreed to step up and do the Google certifications and participate over the summer in some of the professional development. June 13th, we have our first Discovery Ed professional development, and then there's going to be more in August. Also in the Google participation, we thought it was important for you guys to all know what the numbers are currently that the buildings are sending up to the summit. The district office, we've got 3 participants. DOHS, we have 2, Hiawatha 17, Luticaga 10, McFarland 39. Again, that's nearly 100% of all certificated staff at McFarland. OHS 13, Scootney bringing up 24, which again, they don't have representation, and Wahidas at 14. So that's, I think we're sitting now about 100 and some odd participants. We're teaming up with Moses Lake to put on this Google Summit, and Moses Lake is trying to figure out how they can get their numbers to match ours. So I'm kind of competitive, so I thought that was pretty impressive.
All right, so prepping for our first one-to-one take-home deployment at McFarland. So this has been taking up probably the last month or so of our time. We know how important it is to start off right, so we developed the mobile device handbook, which that and the RUG, the responsible use guidelines, we finished it, but we just had it looked over from student leadership. We're moving to administration next before we want you to take a look at that. We want to make sure that it's ready to be viewed. Again, we need some stakeholder input, administrator, student, and then parent, of course. Right now, Glenn's working with various vendors for internet access. We need to make sure we have Wi-Fi hotspots around town. Did you want to talk more about that? Or? Okay. Okay. We're looking at additional carts for the elementary schools to support them. And then we've contacted the newspaper to start an article in that. The next will be, well, we have it up on the website, but to keep that updated, and then we'll go to social media.
So some of the current works in progress that we're going to need to focus on now will be our staffing model, looking at some specific positions, potentially the additional technology support mechanism. I think Mike asked me that last time we were here. So we're looking at that. We're also toying around with the idea of a student-led help desk. That'll be in the future planning stages. Then we're still working on the planning of the community professional development and parent meetings. We know that that's going to be very important, one, for community understanding, and then also to make sure that our parents, when their child brings a device home, they understand what the responsibility factors are and potential risks. So we're definitely going to work on that communication piece. And then we're doing internet access beyond the district. That's the Wi-Fi piece that Brooke had talked about. And then we'll continue on with the internet safety, both when they're on our campus and when they're at home. So we're definitely chipping away at that. And I believe that is the last slide. Do you guys have any questions?
So Glenn, a quick question. I know the last time you presented, you brought to the board a timeline. And what, I guess, two-part question, where are we at in that timeline? And are we at a place where we will be at full implementation when you gave us that timeline?
Go back. So one, I don't remember exactly what the timeline was from when we gave it to you. I will say that, in my opinion, we are ahead of schedule in certain areas, especially with the math adoption at McFarland. We were not looking at doing a one-to-one take-home this year, but after having discussions with the building and also discussions with other districts that have done this at the middle school level, we felt that we were well underway, that we could handle this task. So as far as full implementation, and I think that's what you're referring to, our hope is that this time next year we will be having the discussions about the high school, and that's all predicated on how the rollout goes this year at McFarland, what gotchas we find. I feel very confident that we've got the right team to make this happen.
That's great news. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you guys very much. I'd like to move on to item C4, and I'd like to recognize, and I think after I make this recognition, we could pose for a picture as well, but there are a couple of retiree recognitions that we'd like to make as a board. I know that one of the members is here this evening. I don't see the other. And so Mr. Glenn Buse, on behalf of the board, actually, would you please come, and let's go ahead and go over there. Okay, here we go. So, Mr. Buse, on behalf of the school board and the Othello School District, we just want to recognize you. I know way back in way back in 1983, Mr. Buse came to our district and began to teach our students. I think it was just in a very recent board meeting at the Othello High School. We heard from some students, and as we did our walkthroughs, we entered this gentleman's classroom, and students can't say enough about this amazing teacher. So, as a board, I feel very honored to be able to say to you that thank you very much for everything that you've done for us. I know it's been 30 some odd years, 1983 to 2016, 30 years exactly. So we want to recognize them with this certificate that states, Glenn Buse, for your dedicated commitment to educate and empower every individual to grow, contribute, and thrive in a global society, 1983 to 2016. Thank you very much on behalf of the school board and the entire staff at the Othello School District.
It's been a great honor to work with the young people in this community for these years, and they've contributed more than a little to my gray hairs, I believe, but they've also given me great faith and great energy and great hope for our future. These are, I mean, you look in the eyes of these young people and you see everyone has a story, everyone has a life, everyone has the challenges that we all have. But you also see a spark of divinity in them, and it's just a great privilege to work with young people. And it's a great honor for me.
Okay, Mike.
Thank you very much. We'll take a picture for the Outlook, and so you can stand here in the center. So I would also, even though she's not here this evening, like to recognize Marilyn Arnson for her dedicated commitment to this district as well. And we will be providing her a certificate as well. Moving on. We have a presentation from our MECLA Club group. And so I'd like for Mr. Fabian Partida to come and talk to us a little bit about their Washington, D.C. trip that just happened recently. Okay.
Well, can I explain a little bit about
Sure.
the process?
The mic, please.
As Mr. Firth brings up the presentation, we with MECLA, I'm kind of the behind the scenes person. Mr. Firth, Paul Firth is the advisor, and then the students do most of the work. I just help them as much as I can. In the past few years since I've started here, we've really focused on taking students to different leadership events, and they do CASH conference and the LEAP conference, the Latino Education Achievement Project in Olympia. And this year it was a little bit different. We've gone to the LEAP conference for I believe it's the last 4 years. I think Mr. Firth has gone for the last 6. We came to the group in December and we said, hey, so we've gone to the LEAP conference for the last 2-3 years, and some of these students have gone 2 or 3 times. And we asked them that if they wanted to try something different the next year, the following year. Because when I was at Central, we actually took a group of kids to DC, and we were like, well, let's see if we can take some kids to DC. Well, this group, once we told them the idea, they're like, no, we're going this year. We're gonna do what we need to. And we're like, well, it's gonna cost a lot of money. We really need to plan and do a lot of this stuff. But as Carlos mentioned once with our ELL group, and me and Paul are part of that group, is we like to build the plane in the air. So we said, okay, fine, well, let's do it. And so yeah, we started raising money, and I believe at the end, the students were able to raise, I believe it's almost $12,000. Wow. We started off with about $6,000, $6,000 to $7,000. So yeah, I mean, to really congratulate this group of young ladies, once they set their minds to something, it's like, just get out of the way because they'll run you over. And Mr. Firth is going to be able to talk a little bit more about the DC trip.
Okay, good evening. Thank you. I'm Paul Firth, and this is our MECLA club. Come over here, please. It's not our whole club, but it's the majority of the students who went to Washington, D.C. And MECLA stands for Movimiento Estudiantil y Cultura de Latinos Americanos, which is loosely based on the MECHA club from years past. There was a MECHA club before I started working here, and then we reorganized as MECLA back in 2005 or 2006. We've had a very busy year, as Fabian told you. The highlight going to Washington, D.C., and so the students here, they're going to tell you some of those highlights, as well as some of the community service activities that we participated in over this school year. Ready?
So one of our community service was to raise awareness of drugs and alcohol use in our town. Let's Draw the Line is a state project aimed at preventing alcohol use among youth. It gives us high school students funding for completing activities in our communities. We do this by completing a CAN survey and having a public presentation. The main fund of our trip to DC was the County Health and Human Services Department. We have been participating in Let's Draw the Line project for the past 4 to 5 years to raise awareness of alcohol use among youth. To access the funding, we volunteer to administer the CAN survey and present our findings to community groups in our area. The CAN survey stands for Community Assessment of Neighborhood Stores. For the survey itself, our club went around to 10 stores in our area and completed a checklist provided by the state to report on how alcohol and tobacco are sold and advertised. We also had to note if the store sold other healthy choices such as fruit and milk, etc. These are actual pictures from stores in our area. You can see how a sign promoting soccer and cute girls would be appealing to young men and therefore increase the likelihood of purchasing Modelo, which is the beer that's being advertised.
Data for the current scan survey is now available, but according to 2014 Healthy John survey last year of data, alcohol and tobacco use are declining among high school teens. Next fall, students across the all state will be participating in the 2016 Healthy survey. Besides 1999, the alcohol and marijuana are decreasing in our state. And these are some data we have for the survey.
We don't have current data for this survey since we just completed the survey this year. We don't have current data. But what you see up here is the Healthy Youth survey that our high school participates in every 2 years. And so in October, we'll be doing another round of our Healthy Youth survey. And it shows that since from 1998, as Marlem said, 1998 to today, the use of alcohol and marijuana has decreased across the board in high school.
Many times the store owners are not aware of the laws pertaining to alcohol and tobacco advertising. Stores managers have been receptive and thankful of our efforts in the past so that they are not breaking the laws. You can see an advertisement on the storefront in the picture on the left. In the following years, it has been removed.
Other services we provided for our community include helping translate at the food bank. We helped at the dog dish during games, helping set up at the Sandhill Crane Festival. We went to Christmas caroling at the Convention House. Some of these activities we received payment, but most of them we didn't. In order to complete fund for our trip, we also gathered donations from local businesses. We would like to thank and encourage those present and patronize the following stores: Anytime Fitness for a $500 donation, El Jazmín for a $500 donation, Espinosa Trucking for $250 donation, Marjon and Laws Farms for $100 donations, and the Pizza Factory, Trios Beauty Salon, Hair by Maida's, Taqueria Flor, the Ironworks Cafe, and Navia Boutique for their donations. These donations did not only help our club, but helped the stores as well, and it helped with our transportation to our trip.
Washington, D.C. was a grand experience to every one of the, is a grand experience for everyone in the United States, should be seen as possible. Some things that we learned was mainly about history and government. We went to the Holocaust Museum, which we saw more into details of how the Jews were experienced the whole Holocaust, how they were mistreated. And I think this would be a whole good experience for other students who would like to go more into small details of what happened, would like to see the things that were left over from the Jews, their shoes. I think that's one of the biggest touching things that we saw. And honestly, it made us think more about what their experience was during what they went through. It also gave us a lot of details of the gas chambers that they had.
and I think it was awesome from the Holocaust Museum. We also went to we learned more about the White House, how many bedrooms the president had, and what certain bedrooms they would be using. And it's really weird because you would want them to have like a smaller room, but the White House has several, which you don't really understand why would they have, but it all has different kinds. We also went to the Senate meetings at the Capitol. I think that was really interesting. We actually listened to what everyone was talking about Donald Trump. I think it was really good because honestly, we saw how it wouldn't benefit having Trump as a president. Okay, and well, they were arguing of not having him as a president because we would lose a lot, not only from the trading that they would do, but also for the immigrants that were coming here to actually work. And they were talking about it. If they're going against the immigrants, then we're gonna have a lot of trouble with the work in the fields and all that stuff. And well, I agreed about all that. And then we also went to several monuments, such as the Martin Luther King Memorial, Lincoln Memorial, Jefferson Memorial, World War II Memorial, Washington Monument, Vietnam and Korean War memorials. And yeah.
Walked an average of about 15 miles per day.
Some of the new experiences that we learned on our trip were going to the National Arlington Cemetery. The cemetery was miles long. There were so many gravestones from soldiers who served in the military, such as the Marines, Air Force, and Navy. The many gravestones were organized through lines, and they were all lined up neatly from rows in a section. And throughout the cemetery, there were also different types of stones. Some were bigger than others. It was a good experience getting to see and walk up to the unknown soldiers tombstone area and experience how a Marine is marching and talking loudly. There is always someone standing there 24/7, and there's a change of duties. Some other sites that we got to see were the President Kennedy's grave and family grave, and then we walked up to the 9/11 memorial by the Pentagon. Some different lifestyles that we saw over there was one of the most surprising things we experienced was the difference between the big city and a small town. There was the transportation was easily available at any time of the day and night. It was less expensive than owning your own car. There were homes that were very close together and almost no privacy, and there was no space for yards. There was retail stores, restaurants, and grocery stores that were much more expensive, but convenience stores seemed less expensive. And there was most jobs that were government jobs or business jobs.
Okay, so this concludes our presentation. This is actually a kind of a practice presentation. We're going to present to the PAC meeting and to the City Council in the fall when we come back. So we're really thankful for the support that we received from the school district, and we look forward in a couple years to going again. Thank you.
Thank you, MECLA team. Great presentation. It's my opinion that every student should visit Washington, D.C. to get that experience, but it's an amazing experience. Thank you so much. Sure.
Just for reference, when we first started taking students to LEAP, we were at about 6 to 8 kids that we would take. And the last year we went to LEAP, we took 16, 17. So we are working towards increasing that opportunity to other students.
Awesome. Great. Moving on. I don't know, is Travis here yet? Okay. Moving on to item C6, Superintendent Report. So, board members, if you've had an opportunity to look at Superintendent George Juarez's report, if you have any questions, now is the time.
We just need to start with Gina's presentation, I think.
Actually, I'm trying to communicate here with Gina. I know that the presentation was an important presentation. I don't know if you want to give comment.
Oh.
I guess Travis is here.
Travis, if you could come, please, take the mic and let us know, give us an update, a facilities update, that'd be wonderful.
Sorry about that. I guess I sneaked in without you noticing. So, my name is Travis Goddard. I'm the Community Development Director for the City of Othello. But what I'm here tonight is to talk to you about the work that I've been doing with Gina and a lot of your staff regarding the facility needs for the school in an ongoing basis. And we've had several meetings, and 4 of them in particular, where we discussed the facility needs and the population growth of your student body over the next at least 10 years, I think we were looking. And the capacities of your schools at this point are in a position where the school district clearly needs to expand. And the conversations that occurred with the staff, including some members of the administration and also some of the staff and the members of the public, was centered around a couple ideas to start with. The first one was whether or not a new facility should be a high school and a middle school, and then if the option was to go with the middle school, to remodel the campus of the current high school where it is behind City Hall. And we wrestled with a lot of ideas, including some of the issues with remodeling, and that is the fact that it's downtown and it's kind of in the heart of downtown, and it represents a lot of energy in the downtown, just having the kids down there for the businesses and the traffic that currently occurs. But ultimately, the school site is too small to accommodate a 1,500 student campus, and with the infrastructure that needs to go along with it, including a new theater and a stadium, and so the parking that would also be needed for the extra students. So it was not necessarily the highest of the 3 options that we looked at. So the other 2 focused mostly on a new high school campus. We didn't discuss necessarily where that campus would be, but the conversation was based upon probably the secondary question of, would we have 2 middle schools, or would we have a junior high school and a middle school to go with the elementary schools? And we tossed around a lot of ideas and a lot of data and discussion points, and ultimately we came down with these 3 options. We went out to the public and we invited a lot of citizens, a lot of property owners, a lot of business owners to a meeting, and we ended up getting from our normal meetings, which might have been 6 to 10 people, we ended up with 24 people at this meeting. We went through small group exercises where we talked about option A, which was the high school, 2 middle schools and elementary schools. Option B was a new high school, a junior high school, middle school, and 4 elementary schools. And then option C was remodeling the high school, just building a second middle school as the new campus, and then having 4 elementary schools. And so each group took a turn at each station discussing the pros and cons and what the previous groups had done. Then after that was over, what we did is we kind of got together as a single group again, and we discussed what each group concluded and what the pros and cons for each of the options. And then the last thing we did as people were leaving is I had them vote. Basically, number 1 was your first choice, number 2 was your second choice, number 3 was your third, and number 4 was your least favorite choice. And what we had is some pretty clear conclusions, and that was the remodeling of the existing high school was, it only got about 18% of the vote as its first or second choice, whereas 80% of the people who voted found that the new high school with a junior high school, middle school was the first option, and then 66% felt the first or second choice should be a new high school with 2 middle schools. So clearly what we had is pretty much a mandate that the community desires a new high school as opposed to remodeling the existing middle school. Part of our discussion also included some bonding figures based upon the capacity of the district and future growth as it pays off its existing bonding debt. And we looked at numbers between, I think it was 68 million and 99 million, I think was our highest, in 91 million. And in the end, the number 1 choice was a $72 million choice. And after we met one more time after the public voting, kind of again with this smaller group of kind of the technical staff who we wanted to talk about it one more time, make sure we had reached the same right conclusion. And what we concluded is that the $70 million bonding option seems like it's the most palatable to the community. It's consistent with at least 80% of the people who were in that meeting seem to support it as either their first or second choice, which seems like a pretty clear mandate. And Gina can talk about some of the financial implications, and I'm not sure what you necessarily wanted to cover, but I was very comfortable based upon these 6 conversations or 5 conversations that the options are pretty clear and that the school district really needs to take some action, which is proceed with pursuing a new high school at this time. So I see several people from both the community and the staff who were here at several of those facility meetings. So I'd like to invite any of them the opportunity if they want to come up. Jen, are you interested? Or Pete? Anybody? Oh, okay. Were you going to go into the timing, or do you want me to maybe discuss that real quickly?
Well, I guess your presentation took care of a lot of questions that I had for Gina in part of the report that she had. And so, because I know that, and Travis, you might not know this, but several months ago we had a meeting with the board, and we were wanting to go to bond at that time in 2016. We felt like that was very important, but I think now I can appreciate your report as far as the concerns are that you've noted. And so I guess I just want clarification, and I don't know, Travis, if you or Gina can give this to me, but is what you're recommending that we wait to go to bond in 2017?
Okay, so I gave you a whole bunch of information in your board packet, and the timeline that is on page 6 of the document from Piper Jaffray shows a 30-month timeline, and we're actually only 6 months into that first 12 months as far as facility planning. So if you wanted to know my recommendation would be holding off until 2018. And the reason being is our community has never approached a $70 million bond. We have a lot of education to do, and when you look at the history of M&O levies passing with a bond on the same ballot, it's not real encouraging. Our M&O levy is very, very important, and our M&O voter percentage has been taking a dive the last couple levies. So we've got some education to do just for our M&O success in February 2017. So it appears that it's 2 years out, but really we'd have to be ready by October 2017 to run a 2018 bond. So that's about 16 months. Not a lot happens in the summer. We could really hit the ground running next fall, do some, some great work over the course of a year to educate and get people's get people's input. Some of the things that Travis discussed, there's two different thinking around that intermediate grade level, 5 to 8. There's a lot of conversation and opportunity for parents and community members to give input to really understand what that's going to be. A new high school is going to involve an additional transition because we're going to have to build it in phases because we don't have the debt capacity to just go out and build a high school. So we're going to integrate an 8-9 school for 5 years. For some people that's short term. For other people that's something else to palate. So there's just a lot of information. I am really excited about a new high school. I think that's going to energize my remaining 8 to 10 years in this school district. I'm going to be excited about that. But I want to do it right. I want to pass it. If we were to run a bond in November or February, I would be really concerned that we wouldn't recover from an unsuccessful bond. So those are just the thoughts that I have.
November, February in 2017 or
No, when you look at the history of bonds passing in November or any year, it's not really good. So that's why I'm proposing a 2018 February from the standpoint of we're not in a levy year, so we're not doubling up a ballot and we're not rushing it in November of 2016 or February 2017.
Has this been a topic of conversation amongst yourselves?
I think that the committee, there hasn't been a lot of discussion, and correct me if I'm wrong. We've talked about a potential of a November and a potential of a February. We even have some draft ballot language that Jim McNeil put together for us that shows November. But some of this information about history of our elections hasn't been brought out at the facility committee, partly because their work, in the last 3 months has been, what do we need? Let's look at these different options. And so you can only digest so much of a facility planning process with a group that the dynamics and the numbers are constantly changing. Not the fiscal numbers, the actual physical people in the room.
When do we run our next M&O?
February 2017. So we'll be prepping for that early next fall, educating community. And on the very last page, I think it's the last page of that document from Piper Jaffray, our M&O was a 52% passing rate, so it dropped 6% from the prior year, or prior levy.
From the previous year.
Yeah, that was the first time. I think it was simple majority was in 2000. Yeah. So my message wasn't to in any way discourage the work we're doing. It's just be strategic and
Any other questions from the board? If not, thank you for the information, Travis, that you presented. We will definitely be discussing this as a board, and hopefully we will hear from you soon as to where this leads in the future. And so thank you so much for the work that you're doing, and every community member and staff member that's part of that group. We really appreciate your work.
As chair, please pass it along to your fellow committee members, please.
Any questions for the rest of George's report? I have one very quick question, George. I know that we have just hired a 6th grade teacher, and I guess my question is, I know that we've had discussion regarding dual language in the middle school, and will this teacher be teaching a dual language track, or is this what was he hired to teach?
No, that particular teacher, because as you know, we're having a tough time just hiring teachers. So my understanding was when that was announced and advertised, we advertised it both ways. We could not find the bilingual teacher to teach in the dual language track, but because we cannot wait, because if we wait, that person will be hired somewhere else. The decision was made to go ahead and hire that person with the intent that we can still meet some of the needs of our dual language students and some of our other students with our Spanish foreign language program.
He just seemed that his qualifications seemed like the kind of teacher that you would hire for a track like that. And so I'm not sure if whatever subject he's teaching, will he then be teaching in Spanish? Do we know that yet?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
But I do know that when I inquired, the answer to that would have been no. Because it was just a regular track that Principal Adams mentioned to me that this person would be teaching.
Any other questions for our superintendent? Could you please take the mic, just quickly?
I know I'm not the principal or anything, but he is going to be on my team. I am a 6th grade language arts social studies teacher, Shane Provost, in case it needs to be. But he has been directed, as far as our team knows, that he is going to be just a standard. You know, we need the extra teacher from the growth from the new bubble. He is our new addition. And as far as we know, and we've been told as our team, is that we're all teaching English language. Although there are a few of us, myself, Tony Ruiz and Rafael, who we all are Spanish speakers. So there are some options there if that's the way that the board ends up directing it. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, I'd like to go back to the
high
school.
Okay. Sorry.
That's good. Because I'd like to ask, have you ever done a staged, like a high school or any type of school, where you? Are they? How is the cost compared to doing it?
Ed, we need you
one
to take the
shot?
mic, please. Sorry.
There are more upfront design costs because you have to design the whole building as if it were a 1,500 student building. And then the construction costs can depend on how many phases that you do it in and how long it takes and that sort of thing.
But there's got to be increased costs when you go from when you finish phase 1 and you attach phase 2 to it. There's got to be some additional cost because you're attaching to an existing wall of some type, or because we're doing an enclosed campus, wouldn't we?
Again, if you would design the building to start with, you know, to be able to add on, I don't think that there'd be a significant cost. I mean, you're going to have was an outside wall that would become an inside wall, so you probably have more footings and that kind of thing. But I wouldn't expect that you would do, you know, block on the outside or anything like that. You'd be smart in the design so that it would be as easy as possible to continue the program.
Hopefully our
Does that answer
architect
your question?
will be smart in the design, right?
Derek?
No, you answered my question, so no, that's what I wanted to hear.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you, Ed.
Any other questions for our superintendent?
I'm assuming you concur with Gina on the timing of the bonds.
Not that I want to put any words in Jim's mouth, but I would assume that you are in agreement in terms of the timing. Because I know that, I probably shouldn't say this, Ed, but the first time I said to Ed that we were contemplating it going out in November, I think I've mentioned it to some of you, he laughed at me. So I knew the answer right away that it probably shouldn't be in November. And I do know that Gina sought counsel from a variety of different people, and they all were in agreement that this year would be really, really tough. If we're going to do a great job, it just takes a while to sell this. And as you mentioned, Stuart, it can't be in November. Well, in February we have our levy, and we can't afford any misstep on the levy at all, which then takes us out till November, which Gina said we're not successful in November, so that brings us to February 2018.
So you have the concept drawings already done? Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, moving on to item C7, director discussions. Traffic safety education program. I know, George, you had something to share with the board about that.
I did. I recently met with the high school, and I can't remember if I met with Carlos first, and then I met with David for a little while. And we were talking about the way our program is currently run, and I know that Gina did some work on, because we were asked to take a look at how much is it costing us, are we subsidizing this, et cetera, et cetera. What we found out is with the current way that we're running it with 16 students, we actually need that number to be up in the 25 student range. Unfortunately, because of staffing as well as driving time, what we would have to do is increase the cost to leave it at 16. We just don't have the manpower nor the cars to run it with 25. I do know that if we do that, if we keep it at 16, the cost would rise from, I need Gina's help. It would raise from 275 to 375, and we would be then above our local schools. So I think the discussion then came, and I think Carlos was the first one that initiated, maybe it's time. And I know that he had a discussion with our TSC staff, and they were of the mind that maybe it is time that we consider not offering. And I do know that one of the things we talked about was trying to get this done before the kids went out, but it's just, the timing was just not there. I know that we are prepared that if a decision is made not to, that we will notify each of those individuals that they would have to start making plans for taking it to the local schools. But that's the quandary we're in. Our recommendation, unless I'm wrong, is probably that we do not continue this. So, and were we right on the cost on that, Gina, from 275 to 375? And if I'm not mistaken, too, in addition to 375, they would also have to pay for the assessments, which probably takes it closer to 450, whereas the local schools can, our students can probably finish the course in around 350. Good. Yeah, probably, just repeat that so we can get it in the system.
So if they take it at the local driver's ed schools, they get to take their skills test and their knowledge test for free as part of the course package. So when we offered it at $275, it cost them about $75 to take the test, so we were competitive with the others. By raising the price to $375 economically, we're just, I mean, no one's gonna, even if we decided to keep it and we said it's gonna cost you $450 to get your license, they're gonna go there instead of, I mean, it comes down to the bottom line. So we're just, when we give kids the option, they're not going to, their families aren't gonna do it. So then we're left in August with trying to redo the schedule to fit this in. So we might, in my opinion, as George stated, now's the time. If we want to do this, then we do this. You know, and just remove it and work on it now to give the counseling staff some time to get it done.
Just one other note that you should be aware of is that since they would not be teaching driver's ed, I think it opens up 2 sections, 3 sections?
One section, world history.
Yeah, one long.
Each semester.
Right, so we would have the opportunity to reassign the individual to some other classes, which would lower class sizes.
So David, maybe you could talk to this. I guess my concern, and as a board member, obviously we have to listen to the recommendations that are given to us. My concern is for those students of financial need that that we were helping with because of the lower cost. And so has there ever been any thought into either surveying the students that would much rather take it at the school because it was at a lower cost? Or have you even talked about those types of students that would really struggle?
Sure. When this came up with the board probably 4 years ago, we brought that up. The driver's ed used to be subsidized through the levy, and it wasn't written into the last two. So we were then going into a negative balance. The school was subsidizing it out of basic ed. So the determination was made at that time that the program needs to break even. Fair enough. In terms of, well, okay, we have 16 kids per quarter right now signed up for the class. So that's a total of, what is that, 64 kids taking it. And we have 10 kids on a waiting list out of the 300 and some coming in to be freshmen. So they're not beating down the doors to take it at the high school anymore. I mean, the majority of the kids are going to the private schools anyways. Are there students that are going to be financially impacted? Yeah, there are. But that's not going to change, because even if we kept the price the same, they'd still be paying the same as they would at a private school now. So unless the board gives a directive that we're going to choose to go into the red on this again, I mean, I don't see that we're going to be able to solve that or address that need or that issue.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good answer. Any other questions from the board? So when will the recommendation officially come to the board?
I guess it's being done right now.
Was this in consent agenda?
All we need is a consensus from the board that you're okay with the direction we're going, more than not. It doesn't necessarily have to be a formal action, because it's an operational type thing, but I wanted to make you aware of this because I know there was a lengthy discussion 4 years ago about this topic.
And as far as I'm concerned, I'm fine with them removing it from our high school.
Well, it sounds like everybody involved has been included in the discussion, so I concur. I agree that if that's the direction that they think we need to be, I'd be okay.
Well, I guess I'd just like to throw in that we're making that, as a TSC staff, we're making that recommendation based on the financial needs. Right. Do I think that's the best move for the kids long term? No, it's not. I think it's better to have it in the public schools. But dealing with the reality as it is on the ground right now, this is really the only option that makes sense.
Director Hilmes?
I'm good with that.
Okay. So you have consensus from the board. Thank you.
Thank
Dave.
you.
Thank you, Dave.
Do we have, Director Hilmes, a legislative report?
Not much of a legislative report, other than that Randy Dorn's not running for re-election, and there's definitely some posturing going on with the funding of basic education.
Okay. We were going to present our one of our student reps. We're going to recognize them as this would be his last meeting, but we'll see if we can invite him to our last June meeting and recognize him then. So Ivan, if you listen to this recording, please come to our next meeting.
You did.
One other thing to talk about. I just wanted to ask the board what they thought of our high school, middle school, Desert Oasis High School, and all of those graduation ceremonies, or the ones that you were able to attend. What did you guys?
The high school graduation ceremony, a little bit different seating format. I think just a little bit more tweaking on it, but it seemed to work out pretty good.
I liked it, and I was able to see a video on social media of the Desert Oasis, and that was awesome. That was good to see. It was a few of the kids that were on there were a couple that we had in our debriefing when we did our visit, and I actually got a little teary with one young man. But no, I think overall, small town, even if you don't go to the event, you're going to see a video, or it's going to be talked about, and it's like if you were there anyway. So I actually went to all of them, even though I only attended 2 of them. But yeah, they were good events, good programs.
I thought the new seating arrangement was great at the high school. I enjoyed the fact that the graduates were able to be a little closer to their family, and as they walked around and were seated. I know it took a little more time than normal, and I'm interested to see what happens next year with the translation into Spanish, since our new principal probably doesn't speak Spanish. But it was a great job. I really enjoyed it. Desert Oasis, again, hats off to Russell. He's the man. And middle school, I heard, was Who would, either of you? Okay.
54 minutes. They got through that, and they had like close to 300 students. They got through it quickly, and it was a nice. I also want to comment. I was a little bit apprehensive about the new arrangement, but at the graduation, high school, worked out really well. I think what we need to work on, or what somebody needs to work on in the future, deals with maybe some additional bleachers for the sitting around that semicircle.
Great. Any more questions? Okay, moving on to item D1, EL16. And I'd like to propose to the board members that are here. There are 2 board members that are absent, but I guess there was comments were not included in this survey, and so I know that there are board members that made comments, especially for question 2. And being that question 2 was a 2-2 vote, my suggestion to the board is that we table EL16 to the next board meeting, so that we can read the comments, and if we are found not in compliance, that we can include those comments into our policy review. So yeah, I would need a motion to table.
I motion that we table EL16 SurveyMonkey.
Motion's been made by Director Mike Garza to table EL16 to the next board meeting. Second?
Second.
Second by Director Hilmes. Any discussion?
Just so we inform the other board members of what we did tonight in case.
I will let them know. Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 3-0. Moving on to item E1. Oh,
If did it not say student rep thing? I just had a quick thing to say.
Oh, go ahead. I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine.
It was not in there.
Mine's not working. That's why.
okay.
So I just had a comment about graduation because I did attend it. I just had a small kind of complaint. I mean, my mom kind of had a complaint, and a few other parents and stuff, was just about the podium where the speakers spoke. They spoke to the audience versus the graduates, which is kind of why we're there. So I mean, that was just kind of a note that I took, that maybe they were kind of far back and the presentations were just to the audience.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Good point. Thank you. Great. Moving on to item E1, policy review. EL2, expectation of superintendent. I don't know if there's any changes that any board member would like to propose. If not, EL2 can stay the same. I didn't get any response back from any of the board members that are absent, so we'll move forward with EL2 the way it is. Now, EL20, I know item E2, highly capable programs. I know that there was changes made to that policy, but the gentleman that made the changes is not here in case we had any questions, so I would recommend, if I could just get the consensus of the board, to keep EL20 under policy review until the next board meeting, so that we can have an opportunity to ask questions. Is that the consensus? Okay. So we'll keep EL20, George, in policy review for next board meeting. Great. Moving right along. F1, board assessment of meeting, Director Garza.
Date of meeting is June 13th of 2016. There is 3 board members present. General meeting behavior. The agenda was well planned to focus on the real work of the board. Commendable. The board followed its agenda and did not get sidetracked. Commendable. The board's deliberations and decision-making processes were public. Commendable. Participation was balanced. All participated. No one dominated. Commendable. Members listened attentively, avoiding side conversations. I think I asked Stuart one question all night, and it was a small one, so we're commendable. Governance policy review. Board actions occur at the policy level rather than at the operational level. Yes. The board reviews policy about each topic before discussing that issue. Yes. In writing additional policies, the board starts with a broad statement and becomes more detailed in a logical and disciplined sequence. We did not write any additional policies tonight. The board chair helps the board efficiently conduct its meeting. Yes, he does. Good job. The board supports the superintendent in any reasonable interpretation of its policies. Yes. Overall, I'm giving us a commendable for our meeting tonight. Good job, President.
Great. Moving on to item F2, announcements. And the only announcement I have for the board is our next board meeting is June 27th, 7 o'clock. So we'll see you then. Item F3, BITS. Any questions for George on BITS? I know that registration to WASA has been
You're right.
completed.
I did add that. I know we had talked and we couldn't come up with any item, but then as I went back some of my notes, we have registered everybody and that was completed.
Great. Any questions?
We've registered our new student rep.
Yep, everybody's registered. The two student reps, the board, Dr. Hurst, you're all registered.
Great. Moving on, item F4, there will be a need for executive session for approximately 1 hour for the purpose of reviewing qualifications of staff, review and negotiation proposals, and acquisition of real estate. So we will take a 5-minute recess and enter executive session in 5 minutes. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
How do you log out of this thing?
Oh yeah, take it.
How do I log out?
I saw Cynthia, so I could have given it to her.
The doggy?
Yeah.
He didn't sign out, did he? That's why Thank you. Yeah, that's why I was able to have it on. No.
So turn it off.